The Hans Hedtoft disappearance can be logically explained, but sometimes ships just vanish and leave us guessing, and then wild theories take over. This is especially true of this next ship, the lovely, yet doomed, SS Waratah. Waratah was built in 1908, a passenger cargo ship of considerable size for the time at 465 feet or 142 metres in length, and some 9,339 gross registered tonnes. The ship was designed to carry passengers and cargo on the long voyage between Britain and Australia, and she had space for 432 passengers in cabins and another 600 immigrants in temporary dormitories within the ship's cargo holds. The ship's first class was relatively comfortable and even featured a nursery for children, as well as a luxurious music lounge for performances. Like other ships of the time, Waratah featured a suite of safety features like watertight compartments and a cellular double bottom, which, her owners declared, made her practically immune from any danger of sinking. But unfortunately, this would soon prove not to be the case. On her second voyage in April 1909, the ship had departed Britain for Australia and disembarked her passengers and cargo. Then she began to make the return voyage to Britain. The ship's captain, Ilbery, was not impressed with the new ship, and he complained to the vessel's owners that it did not have the inherent stability of the company's previous vessels. There was even a heated exchange between the ship's owners and builders over this after Waratah's maiden voyage, but while a solution was considered, the ship set off on its second voyage. Waratah was steaming along the South African coast with almost 100 passengers aboard and a cargo of flour, dairy, frozen meat, and, tantalisingly, 7,800 bars of gold bullion. The ship made it to Durban, South Africa, and disembarked a few passengers. One was an engineer and experienced sea traveller Mr. Claude Sawyer, who sent a message to his wife that said, "Thought Waratah top heavy, landed Durban." Sawyer was meant to sail all the way through to Cape Town, but decided to get off earlier because he was worried about the seakeeping behaviour of the ship. Waratah left Durban on the 26th of July with 211 passengers and crew, and was spotted the next day by a smaller ship, the Clan McIntyre. The captain of that ship recalled it was the worst weather he'd ever experienced in his 13 years at sea, with massive waves and powerful winds. Waratah sailed off into the distance, buffeted by the sea, and was never properly seen again. In the midst of the driving seas, Waratah ploughed ahead, intending to reach Cape Town on July 29th. But when the ship failed to reach its destination, concern began to mount. Just like Neronic though, this took some time, because it was still common for ships in that era to be weeks overdue. But finally, in August that year, a search was mounted. The Royal Navy ship HMS Hermes was sent with 2 other warships to look, but the seas were still so heavy that Hermes' hull was breached and the ship had to be dry docked. On August 10th, some exciting news came from Durban. A vessel, seemingly matching Waratah's description, had been spotted slowly making its way towards the port. In Australia, the message was even read out in Parliament, and in the city of Adelaide, Waratah's first Australian port of call, the town bells were rung. But in the end, the ship was found not to be Waratah, and the vessel was still missing. For 4 months, the Royal Navy and the Waratah's owners searched, chartering vessels to find the ship. But in the end, no confirmed trace of her or her passengers and crew was ever found. No lifeboats, no life preservers, nothing. There were reports of a life preserver washing ashore on New Zealand with the ship's name on it, but this is hard to prove. And in the end, inquiries had nothing to work with except the discussions regarding the ship's stability before the departure. The inquiry found that the ship had been well built and was safe as could be at the time, but many former passengers from the maiden voyage and the first leg of the second voyage recalled pitching and rolling and the ship taking on a dangerous list. Confusingly though, other passengers and crew came forward to discredit these reports, stating that the ship was stable and handled well at sea. No obvious answer was evident, and in the end, only wild theories could be put forward for consideration. One theory had Waratah experience a dramatic cargo shift as she was carrying over 1,000 tonnes of lead and 300 tonnes of lead ore concentrate. This can liquefy, creating a dangerous situation for the ship as its stability is upset. This free surface effect could cause a capsize, and today, ore concentrate is treated as a hazardous cargo for this very reason. Another theory is that Waratah experienced an explosion, maybe of her coal dust or a boiler, which would have sunk the ship in minutes. But the most likely explanation is possibly the most horrifying: a freak wave. In heavy seas, waves can band together to create one massive, seemingly random rogue wave, which can have devastating consequences for any ship in their path. Waves like this have damaged massive transatlantic passenger liners. One even rolled the mighty Queen Mary about 50 degrees onto its side, and that ship was almost 9 times larger than the Waratah. If the ship really was experiencing stability issues, then a rogue wave catching it unaware would result in a capsizing and immediate sinking, a nightmare situation for any ship's passengers and crew, leaving no time for preparing or lowering the lifeboats. In the end, the ship's owners, the Blue Anchor Line, faced bankruptcy as ticket sales dried up. It entered voluntary liquidation in 1910 and sold all its assets off to P&O. Like the other ships on this list, today the Waratah's wreck lies somewhere on the sea floor, rusted and corroded, but still bearing the clues that could help solve the mystery of the ship's loss, if only it could ever be found.